Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio NBA Closing Time Show, Monday, February the 1st. It's a brand new month. It's really the beginning of Super Bowl week. Skee Prophet, Conor Mack, alongside me, Ian Cameron, ready to break down the Monday card. Good time to remind you, as I mentioned, that it's the start of Super Bowl week, that we've got our special NFL Super Bowl a preview show specifically geared toward prop betting coming up right here on Pub Sports Radio Thursday, February the 4th, 1 p.m. Eastern. 10 a.m. Pacific. Definitely looking forward to that. I've already got a bunch of props that I've either bet or have got circled throughout the or late to bet later this week. So we'll be mentioning all of that on the show, Super Bowl edition. Usually that's the time slot for Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy, but it'll be a full house. Me, Conor, Skee, and Donnie Rightside on Thursday talking Super Bowl, Bucks and Chiefs. So looking forward to that for sure. Guys, let's get into our Monday NBA card. We'll start with the Minnesota Timberwolves and Cleveland Cavaliers, top of the rotation here. Cleveland, 5.5 point home favorites. Total sitting around 218 in that game. Certainly as someone that was on the Cavs and the over last night in the first meeting between these two teams in Minnesota, it was a very frustrating second half. And really for the Cavs, you know, I start singing their praises and waxing poetic. This could be a playoff team in the East, and I think they've got the potential, once they're fully healthy, to really be a pretty tough out and one of those teams that can be a 6, 7, 8 seed come playoff time. But boy, they've had a couple of rotten second halves, back-to-back road games against New York and Minnesota, and back-to-back situations where the Cavs played pretty good in the first half and just couldn't play well in the second half. J.B. Bickerstaff after the game saying, turnovers, we started playing a lot more selfish, using that term after the loss last night to Minnesota, where the Timberwolves, especially in the fourth quarter, pulled away and won it by margin. Cleveland now will be looking to bounce back here. As much as the last two games on the road in the second half, the games have gotten away from the Cavs, they have been a very, very good home team. We've seen them rise up here on this home floor, beat Brooklyn twice, give the Lakers one hell of a game here on this home floor as well. Look, I've been bitten now twice in a row with this Cleveland team, but I'm going to go back to the well one more time here. I do think that the home court means something. We have seen the Cavs play much better basketball at home. They've shot the ball better, and I think you're going to see that here as well in this game, that they've had some real big performances, particularly the two guards, Sexton and Garland, on their home floor. I think that carries over, and if you're going to tell me right now or ask me, do I trust the Timberwolves to win 2 games in a row, to play good twice in a row? I sure as hell don't. So I'm going to go right back to the well, bet for better or worse, till death do us part, apparently. Me and the Cavs, we're joined at the hip one more time tonight. I'm going to lay the 5 with Cleveland here against Minnesota. Skee, what's your thoughts here, Wolves and Cavs?
Yeah, I thought the Cavs would be able to do it last game, man. And they were very disappointing, to say the least. Giving up. I remember they were at 55-44, I think, and they ended up losing by like double digits. So I just can't do it again. I'm just not going to punish myself again. I wish you luck on that one, Ian. I look at the total. Neither team has been really great offensively lately, and last 5 games I have them like both bottom 3 offensive rated teams. I think I trust the defense for both more than offense. They both play at a faster pace than I like, but a couple of guys questionable. If they're out, I think this one can stay under.
All right, a lean to the under for Skee. Conor, what are you thinking here with Minnesota, Cleveland?
Yeah, I can't go back. I was on that over, and it just seemed like really the fourth, too. What was it, like 87, 84? Something like that. Maybe 88, 85. It really went to us, especially the Cavs. That was bad. Bad fourth quarter. I think the Cavs get right, but yeah, I don't want to lay 5 with him, not right now. So it was a pass for me. And on the total, I'm not going to go after last night. Skee just talked about it. Both these teams, especially the Cavs, have struggled scoring, and the Timberwolves are so up and down. Their play, they're just so erratic. That fourth quarter was just kind of out of nowhere. Hanging around, and they have a decent fourth quarter and win a game, but they'll probably revert back to their old ways and lose 4 straight. My lean is with the Cavs. I just don't like laying this number, and I'd lean to getting over, but I'm not taking it. Not after last night. It's a pass for me here too.
Yeah, Cleveland's been winning and covering at home, and their games have been flying over the total recently home here going into this game. So it's kind of interesting to see how this one will play out. I think Garland and Sexton prop-wise might be worth a look. I think Anthony Edwards for the Timberwolves is the guy you may want to look at from a prop standpoint. He's picked it up. He's averaging over 20 points per game in his last 5, the number 1 overall pick. Starting to play like it. It takes a while for, a guy that's just in the NBA for John Morant, the same thing in Memphis. He didn't exactly light the world on fire immediately. Sometimes it takes time. We're seeing Anthony Edwards play better the last little Minnesota. He was really good last night. Next up, we've got the Lakers taking on the Atlanta Hawks. The Lakers 5.5-point road favorites here in the ATL. The total 219 in this one. The Atlanta Hawks, certainly a team that I've cashed with a little bit lately, a couple of times, including their last game on Friday. We laid the 3.5 against Washington. They took care of business, 116-100. Really, that game was just a wire-to-wire beat down by the Hawks. They were in firm control from start to finish. They did lose DeAndre Hunter, though, to injury in that game. That's a significant absence for this Atlanta team. He's played good basketball for them this season. Definitely will miss his presence on the court going into this one. So we're going to ask more of Collins and Kevin Huerter and, of course, Trae Young needing to step up here. The Lakers, not pretty against Boston, but that was just one of those good, grinded out, physical, intense playoff-style games, the Lakers and the Celtics on Saturday night, and the Lakers end up on the right side of a 96-95 win, which actually snapped a 2-game losing streak. Remember, they were beaten at the buzzer by the Philadelphia 76ers before that, and then they suffered the loss to the Detroit Pistons 107-92 after that. So the Lakers get back in the win column. I'm a little bit leery here, and of course, Skee's the resident Laker fan here on the NBA Closing Time show, so we're interested to hear what he thinks. But I'm leery of laying 5.5, 6 here with LA a little bit. And Atlanta in these underdog spots, stepping up in class against good competition. They've risen up and given some good performances in these kind of situations throughout the course of the season. We've seen them in the underdog role a bunch against Brooklyn. Remember, they took the Nets to overtime just 4 days ago. Losing 132-128. In fact, a lot of their games where they've stepped up in class and played pretty good basketball have come against, some good competition in this kind of role. I mean, the 2 games at Brooklyn early in the season, they cover in those 2 games. They have a win against the Sixers on their resume, this Atlanta Hawks team. Of course, the one blowout loss against a good opponent was the Milwaukee game, but they also have a win against the Clippers, albeit shorthanded that night, the Clippers were. And then, of course, they took the Nets to overtime. So you've actually seen Atlanta in this step up in class spot, catching points. They've been not a bad betting proposition here. So I've got to lean to Atlanta here in this one, 5.5, 6 against the Lakers. Skee, what's your thoughts here? Lakers versus Hawks.
Well, put some numbers to what you're saying. Hawks at home versus 55% when teams are greater. Going back to last year, 27-1 against the spread, and they're 4-1 against the spread in that role this year. They've been playing better basketball than the Lakers have. The Lakers, I've been watching them. It's just like, I don't know. They look like they're just lackadaisical. Like, I don't know. I know they're on a long road trip. Maybe they just want to go home. I think this is their 7th road game in a row. So I don't think it's a great spot for the Lakers. On the side, I would be taking the Hawks. And the total, both teams playing at a slow pace. Lakers unders have been golden, especially on the road, 11-2 to the under. I think this one stays under the number as well. So Hawks and under for me.
All right, Hawks and under. And I would agree with both of those from a side and total perspective in this one. Connor, what's your thoughts here with the Lakers and Hawks?
I'm in agreement. I watch all these Laker games too. As he said, they just look, lackadaisical, not into it. And this one being the last game of this long trip. I look to the Hawks with the points here, and like you guys just said, 5 of the last 6 on this trip have been the under. Lakers just been an under team. And to be crazy, you think a while back going the Hawks 219, wanted to take an under going back to last year, but I think it's an under. I'm in agreement with you guys. Under 219 here.
Yeah, David Sharp saying no Cam Reddish. He's in tonight as far as I'm concerned. I don't see any injury. He was injured. I think he's good to go, though. He's expected to be on the floor last I checked for the Atlanta Hawks. He played against Washington and played a couple of games actually toward the end of last week. I think he's in It's DeAndre Hunter that they are missing for Atlanta. He got injured. He left the game against Washington, and I saw it because I was watching a part of that game on Friday night. Obviously, having Atlanta, I'm going to watch a little bit of it. But yeah, he left that game. Looks like for him, it's a knee injury, and it's definitely not going to be short term. He's going to be sidelined for at least a little bit. With this, they're saying, at least a week, potentially 2 weeks, and then they're just going to play it by ear from that point with his injury. So definitely keep that in mind. Yeah, they'll miss him, but I think tonight, hey, the Lakers are coming to town, defending NBA champs, and you're seeing everybody give the Lakers a pretty good go lately. We saw, Cleveland, even a lot of these teams that you would think the Lakers would outman from a talent standpoint, depth standpoint, and yet these teams are rising up and giving the Lakers a battle. I think Atlanta will do the same tonight. Next up, we've got Charlotte and Miami. The Heat, 6-point home favorites, 217 the total in this game. Charlotte Hornets, clearly a team that's been up and down. It's hard to figure out what you're going to get from Charlotte a night in and night out. James Borrego's bunch have been all over the map. They have a terrible swoon there where they're 1-6 in 7 games, and the only loss was to Orlando, who are just in a free fall right now, the Magic. But now all of a sudden they've turned it around with 2 straight wins. They win the second of the back-to-back against the Pacers, 108-105, and then they drill the Bucks, lead pretty much from the second quarter onward. They had a bad start to the game, and then they just poured it on against Milwaukee, and then they end up winning 126-114. So an impressive win there for Charlotte. We'll see if they can keep it rolling here against Miami. Miami does have Jimmy Butler back. We know that is obviously a huge boost when you get the leader of the team back on the floor, but still dealing with a ton of questionables. Tyler Hero came in contact with someone that he's been bunking with, I guess, quote unquote, residing with, that had COVID-19, and now that's put his, status tonight and moving forward in a little bit of peril for the Heat. And Miami, they've just had this season for Spoelstra where he's just frustrated because he can't keep the same combination on the floor one game to the next. It's guys in, guys out, and it's been that kind of struggle for them. They had a 5-game losing streak that was snapped with a win against Sacramento, but keep in mind, 6.5-point favorites. They only won the game by 1 point, 105-104. It's not a Miami team I'm rushing to lay 6 with right now, plain and simple. I know the betting markets are rushing to the Miami side here. They pushed this up from -4 to -6, but I'm not one of those bettors that did that. It's a pass for me all around in this one. I'm not involved. What do you think, Skee, with the Hornets taking on the Heat?
Hornets have been playing good basketball lately. I have this number closer to 4. The Heat, they're in a spot where I like to usually fade teams. And they're rested home teams that won their last game as a favorite, but had to come back from down double digits. 17-34 against the spread is what I have. And that's what I'm going to roll with here. I like the way Charlotte's been playing, and I think they can keep it within the number. And as far as the total, it started, I wasn't too excited where it started at, but it's did down. I'm not sure exactly where it is now. I saw like 217, I think.
Current total is 217. Yep.
217. Yep. I think at this point, like, we can maybe still get over the total on this one. The number I have is 218, so I think it's gone a little bit too low.
Yeah, and when you've seen Miami, now Miami, granted, it's hard for Sacramento to stay under the total. Finally, Sacramento played an under against Miami over the weekend, but you look at Charlotte, 126-114. They've trended over the total at looks like a 6-2 clip, and they're 5-2-1 specifically to the over for Charlotte in their last 8 games. Conor, what do you think, Charlotte, Miami?
Yeah, I like Charlotte here. I think it's just too many points at 6. The Heat, have just been this mash unit, and I think it's gonna be another week until the Heat probably get going. Get everybody back, everybody healthy. It's just been in and out of the lineup, injuries, COVID, all that. So I think this is value catching 6 until I see the Heat start playing well. I can't lay 6 with them. And I lean towards this over as well. I think it can get there. Charlotte's look good. I took them against the Bucks, and I was kind of kicking myself. They played well against the Pacers, but I was on the Pacers the other day. I like the Hornets, +6, and I'd lean to. I think it gets over this total, 216.
All right, Sacramento taking on New Orleans. We got the Pelicans, 3-point home favorites here, 233, 234 the total here in this one. Sacramento, all of a sudden, some life and a pulse for Luke Walton's crew here on the road, but not a bad start to the road trip at all for this Sacramento team. Beat Orlando, beat the Raptors as underdogs, and fell short against Miami, but covered the number. They were a winner against the point spread, which is our first and foremost concern. Getting 6.5 in that game, they only lose by 1. So they're 3-0 ATS on this road trip here for Sacramento. And this is the final leg of that road trip. They go home to face Boston on Wednesday. You always worry about that, especially for the West Coast teams. That final game of the road trip, is the focus there? Is the performance level going to be where it needs to be going into this one? New Orleans had beaten 1-2 in a row, I should say, against Washington and Milwaukee prior to the 126-112 loss against Houston. I was on the Rockets that game on Saturday against New Orleans. Very good spot. Fade New Orleans off the big win against Milwaukee the night before. Houston was a little bit more rested going into that game. The Rockets took advantage of that. Pelicans still playing. I'd probably trust New Orleans a little bit more in this spot than Sacramento, but didn't really love laying the 3. Talked about how this team focused on defense coming into the season, guys, that Stan Van Gundy was going to drill it into this team. We got to be better at the defensive end. They didn't play any defense under Gentry last year. And they started out the season trending under. Those days are a thing of the past, at least as of right now for New Orleans. They're 9-1 to the over, include in their last 10, including 7 straight overs going into this game. You know, Sacramento has always been a team I've been interested in over the total, and that's kind of the way I like this game, even more than the side. I have a lukewarm lean to the Pelicans here as short home chalk, but I like this total more. I agree with the move up. I think we're probably going to see points both ways here, Kings and Pelicans. Skee, what do you think here with Sacktown and New Orleans?
It's tough for me to go against an over in a Sacramento game. I know they stayed under last game. You know, this number does look a little bit high, but like I said, I just can't back an under in the Kings game right now. And as far as the side, Pelicans, I don't think they should be laying points. They haven't been good as a home favorite. They've only covered 1 game, 1 out of 6, I believe. But they are in a spot that I usually like to back teams in, and teams to bounce back after they got embarrassed as a home dog. And with that said, I still lean towards Sacramento, and that's because they've been good in their role as a road dog. They've been playing better lately, and that's the way that I'll lean in this one. Kings.
All right, Kings plus the points, and the money's come in on Sacramento. And Luke Walton said something interesting in one of the quotes I read about the fact that, you know, the team hung on to beat Toronto. It was an intense game. It got close down the stretch, and then they fought back valiantly against Miami. And they said, you know, we really played with a great deal of energy. And now when you're on the tail end of this road trip, you played 2 intense games down to the wire. That's the one thing that concerns me a little bit about Sacramento, that they just run out of gas, run out of steam after these 2 barn burners they played back-to-back with the Raptors and the Heat. We'll see if they have enough stamina for 48 minutes tonight against the Pelicans in this one. Conor, what do you think, Sacramento and New Orleans?
Yeah, I'm worried it's being the last game. It could get a little sloppy, just like you said. But I got to go with the over 2. I know, in that Kings game, it went under, but I can't look back. Like Skee mentioned, I thought this number was a little high too. It's creeping up to 234. The only way I'd look is towards the over. And I'd look to the Kings with the points as well. New Orleans, I don't know when they'll get it going, and I don't want to lay 3 with this team. Not right now. They just still seem disarray. I don't know when they'll get it. I don't know if they'll ever get it going this year, especially right now. So, and I'm surprised by the Kings. I'm not going to take this side. I'm only on the total, but I'd look to the 3 in this one.
All right, next up, we've got the Knicks taking on the Bulls. We've got Chicago here, 3.5 now, point home favorites in this game, 218 the total in this one. I'm telling you, there's been a couple of tough ones I've taken the brunt of this weekend from a losing standpoint in NBA betting. The Pacers against the Sixers Sunday night was one. How about the way it ended for Chicago against Portland? Like a jump ball with a few seconds left in the game. Lillard ends up with the ball, shoots the game winner for 3, and they beat the Bulls on Saturday, I believe that game was. Just a really, really tough one. I had the over. I split. I'm happy I had the over too, but I had the Bulls money line as well, and that was a frustrating one for Chicago to lose that game when they led. They definitely led most of the way Portland was trailing most of that game, and it slips away from the Bulls in the final minute. I like this spot for Chicago. I think they're going to be chomping at the bit here to bounce back. You can argue that their defense is still very suspect, and yes, it is. Billy Donovan still got work to do to make this team better at the defensive end, but they can fill it up. I think you got a team in the Knicks coming in here off a game they had to play yesterday, so it's a back-to-back situation for the Knicks. They had an early Sunday afternoon game against the Clippers. They got wiped out in that game. Had a rough, shoddy defensive game. And that worries me. They struggled on defense, the Knicks. That's been their hallmark. That's been their calling card this year. It's why they've been able to be competitive in the games they've been, is when they've played defense. And, them struggling defensively yesterday kind of concerns me going into this game against Chicago, who can really shoot the ball and score at will, as they've put on display all season long. Like I say, laying big points with Chicago, would concern me. I'm going to take one more chance with them here, Chicago, minus the 3.5 here in this game against New York. At the opener at 4.5, I was on the fence. It's come down a little bit now with the Bulls now just laying 3.5. So I think now at the deflated number, Chicago, at least for me, is worth a play in this one. I'm looking to bounce back, and the Knicks in a little bit of a more tricky scheduling spot after they had to play the early game on Sunday against the Clippers. Skee, what's your thoughts here? Knicks taking on the Bulls.
Well, the Knicks, they haven't been good versus less 45% win teams or less. And the Bulls, I don't think should be laying points with them. I learned my lesson in that same game that you just talked about. I don't know if I should be laying points with the Bulls. So for that reason, the number I have for the game is 1, and I'll lean towards the Knicks. That's all I have. I'm not going to waste too much time on this game. Don't really love it.
All right, don't really love it, but numbers indicate, in Skee's opinion, that maybe you look toward New York here. Conor, what's your take here? New York, Chicago.
Yeah, sidewise, I'd only look towards the Knicks because I like the Bulls just not laying points, not as a home favorite. 3.5, 4 scares the shit out of me. So I can't play the side. I lean towards the over a little bit, 218. As you talked about, Ian, the Knicks defense is kind of revert. They're playing so well early on. I think they're more of a team that's going to give up points like this. Maybe not every night, but some nights that defense will be better. I think they're pretty good defensively, but the lapses like they can have, I could see it in this one. So I lean towards the over 218.
All right, next up, we've got the surging Houston Rockets. They've won 5 in a row, and they're taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Houston 5-point road favorites, 223.5 the total. I'm not looking to do anything with Houston other than bet on them. And I've done that a few times. It's a question of, do I want to do it tonight here against OKC? Now, we've talked about this many times in the past. OKC's been a road point spread team more than they've been a home point spread team. They've been a little bit more they've actually burned money at home overall. They have a losing home, ATS record here on their home floor. But it is a pretty good bounce back type of situation for Oklahoma City. These are usually the type of spots you like to back teams in, like the Thunder, when they're at home, off the kind of defeat they suffered in their last game. But I'm going to keep this very brief because it's just right now, until further notice, Houston's not a team I'm looking to make a case to bet against or put my money against them right now. They're coming together. The Harden stuff was really ever since they traded him away. That's when you started to see Houston start to cover numbers, play better basketball. They got Oladipo and Wall now integrated into this lineup on a nightly basis. Steven Silas is talking about how this team's playing pretty good defense as well. I'd also lean probably under the total. We think of Houston, for years as this no defense team, lots of pace. And now they're buying in a little bit more at the defensive end of the floor. I could see this game staying under the total. So my lean is to the under as well. And I understand it's probably a good spot for the Thunder, but not betting against Houston. So I'm off this game from a side perspective. Skee, what do you like here with the Rockets taking on the Thunder?
I agree with you completely. The Rockets, they look like they love playing with each other. They're all happy since James Harden is gone, since everybody's been back and healthy. I think they've won every game, or maybe they've covered every game at least. So it's very tough to step in front of Houston. And it is a bounce back spot for OKC. It's a part of those teams that got embarrassed as a home dog and supposed to bounce back. But the problem is OKC is just not good at home. They've only covered 2 out of their last 7 home games. And somebody else pointed out, I think in the chat, Thunder 1-6 at the first half at home.
Yeah.
If I'm playing this one, I probably maybe look towards the Rockets early, and I think it may be too many points for the Rockets. I think they'll win the game, but I don't really want to back the Rockets -5 either. So I'll lean OKC full game or Rockets first half.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the way I feel. I think I like Houston. I want to bet on them. I don't want to go against them, but this definitely feels like it sets up for a decent little spot for the Thunder here tonight. Connor, what do you think, Houston, OKC?
Yeah, my biggest one in this game is I'm on the Thunder here. I think both teams played in the under at 223.5. I think it's a solid play. You guys nailed it. David Sharp in the chat. The Rockets being pretty good in the first half, Thunder being not so good. Thunder, the woes at home. I still like the Thunder. They're much better on the road, catching points. I'm not going to play this one. I lean with the Thunder full game +5, but I'm not going to get to the window with it.
All
Hey,
right,
I want to mention really quick, Houston,
Yeah.
their defense has been great. Like
Yeah.
number one defensive rated team over the last 5 games is what I have, and they're playing at a fast pace still, but it's just that their defense has been so good, so they're still an under team, and I think maybe OKC can step up their defense tonight too. So I maybe will lean towards under too.
Yeah, and that's the balance you have to strike when you're handicapping and you're betting totals. You know, you could see a high total and you want to bet an over because the pace is going to be there, particularly when it's both sides, but you got to have the baskets and the made field goals, to go with that pace. And you're right, the Rockets have improved significantly in that regard. You look at all their defensive numbers, 3-point percentage defense, just straight field goal percentage defense, points allowed, all of it. It's improved this year for this Rockets team. And it's
get James Harden out of town.
Yeah, I think that's something to that. It's exactly right. You look at Brooklyn now with Harden; they're playing just shootouts left and right. That Brooklyn Nets team. Look at last night with the Washington Wizards. Can't hold a lead to the Washington freaking Wizards last night. But that's welcome to the world of having James Harden and Kyrie Irving. And I'm going to leave Durant out of that discussion because he plays defense. But the other two guys, can come and go from them at that end of the floor. Next up, we've got Portland. Speaking of no defense, Portland and Milwaukee. Milwaukee 9.5-point home favorites, 235 the total. So here's we go, and I fall into this trap of buying into coach speak and what players say too much sometimes. I know there's people that really soak that in. I listen to it, but I don't make my decisions based on that. You got Coach Bud Budenholzer, Yanni, all these players on this Bucks team after the last 2 games where their defense is obviously imploded with the way they played on the defensive end against both New Orleans and Charlotte. I could see losing to New Orleans because I like the Pelicans in that spot against the Bucks on Friday. But what's the excuse for in a prime bounce back spot after an embarrassment to the Pelicans playing the way you did against the Hornets on Saturday night? It was an ugly game from Milwaukee. They're talking defense and this, we got to shore it up. We got to communicate better, all this nonsense and mumbo jumbo. Yeah. The eye test says they're struggling right now, plain and simple, at that end of the floor. And so is Portland. Portland's terrible defensively. They have been the last couple of years. They beat Chicago only because they outscored Chicago. It's not really because they got any stops on defense. There's a reason why this total is where it is, 235, and I'd be hard-pressed to look under, even with Milwaukee talking about how we got to show up defensively. I don't trust them right now to do that because the one thing the Blazers are doing right now is scoring the basketball at a pretty good clip. And on the flip side, Portland's defense is not one I trust to shut down the Bucks, and a Bucks team returning home in a foul mood off 2 straight losses. So obviously we know the long-term angle is Milwaukee off a straight-up loss is a great bet. Long-term ATS, they've been very good in that spot. But I bought into them in that spot against Charlotte on Saturday, and they obviously didn't play well at all in that game. I'm not really rushing to go back to the well with Milwaukee here, laying 9.5. I don't want Portland either, but I'm not laying the 9 here with Milwaukee. If anything, I'd agree with this total going from 233.5 to 235. They're talking we got to show up on defense and play better, but let's be honest, New Orleans and Charlotte shredding them. Portland's got the offensive weaponry and firepower, especially from the perimeter right now, to do the same kind of damage. So for me, I'm leaning over the total with Bucks taking on the Blazers. Skee, what do you think? Has Milwaukee got some real things to worry about here, or can they turn this ship around as they host the Blazers tonight?
I disagree completely. And one thing I'll say is Portland, the difference is Portland is not going to get any better on defense. They just don't play defense. They're injured, and I want to say they also play tomorrow. The Bucks, that was their calling card. They're a defensive team, and suddenly it's gone out of the window. So I'm a buy on those quotes. I'm a buy on everybody speaking, because if you're expecting the Bucks to bounce back, like you said, Bucks off of a loss has been good, and they're now off of 2 losses. If you're expecting them to bounce back, I'm expecting significant improvement from the defense. And I know that the Bucks can score as many points as they want against Portland defense, but I do think that they can limit the Blazers. And I especially like the matchup of Drew Holiday versus Lillard. It's always been a good matchup for him. He's a great defender, and he's a bigger defender, and Lillard has problems with that. So if they really come with that defensive mindset, I agree. Like, the total went from 233 up to 236.5, and then down to 235. And I agree with the latter movement. I think it's an under type game, and I think the Bucks smash as well.
All right, Bucks smash, a wake-up call after back-to-back just dismal games for them against the Pelicans and the Hornets. Yeah, I agree. I agree with the side more than the total on that one, because I wouldn't want to back Portland at all. It's just I'm a little gun shy after Milwaukee, what they did against Charlotte. We'll see tonight, though. They're back home. It just feels like this could be a flex their muscles type of situation. We'll see if they follow through, laying the 9.5 here in this game against Portland. Gary Trent is, by the way, the guy that might have a bit. If there's going to be one guy that scores tonight for Portland, it might be Trent. Trent's shot the ball pretty well lately for the Blazers, and if Lillard's bottled up a little bit by the one-on-one defense of Holiday, maybe it's going to open up Trent's ability to maybe be that guy for Portland to have to step up and score for that night if Lillard is neutralized, at least to a certain degree. Connor, what do you think here, Portland and Milwaukee?
Yeah, I think Trent's got to be the guy, with no Jones and McCollum. He's got to be the guy at least every night. 15 to 20. We'll see if he can consistently do it. I'm with you guys. I'd lean with the Bucks. They're just a team that when they win huge. And yeah, Skee, the Blazers do play tomorrow. The Wizards. I'd lean towards the under a little bit too. I mean, it's tough to take it with these two teams. But the Bucks preaching defense. I'm going to stay off this game completely. But it seems like a Bucks get right spot at home here. Blazers can throw up some stinkers on the road, especially a team like the Bucks. So I'm a pass this one, but I'd lean that way.
C-Mac reminded me of a point. I think this is a look ahead game for the Blazers, because people have been talking about, or people mentioned at least to Lillard, and I've seen him respond to it, so I know he's seen it. That Washington backcourt is better than the Blazers backcourt. And there's already history between Lillard and Westbrook, and they play them tomorrow. So I think it could potentially be a look-ahead spot.
That's pretty crazy when you sit back and you think about it in those terms. Really, a look-ahead spot to the Washington Wizards, but based on that little backcourt, competition that you mentioned, that who's got the best backcourt in the NBA. There's TNT guys like Barkley that'll say it's Lillard and McCollum. Yeah, he's sung the praises of those two guys forever. And then there's other people that say it could be Washington now with Westbrook and Beal. I don't know. Any backcourt with Westbrook in it, to be honest, is not number one backcourt material in the NBA for me. That's just a personal opinion. But nevertheless, I understand why the debate's out there for sure. But you don't always get Russ on his game. That's my issue. Next up, we got Memphis and San Antonio. Spurs 3.5-point home favorites here, 221 the total. Short revenge spot here for the Spurs. They lost the first meeting against Memphis over the weekend, but Grizzlies are balling right now. I mean, you can't take away much from what they've done. 6 straight wins, 6 straight point spread covers for the Grizzlies. They beat Brooklyn during that run. They beat the Sixers during that stretch. They've beaten the Suns. They go on the road. They beat the Spurs. So I understand San Antonio looking to avenge that 129-112 loss on Saturday against the Grizzlies. But Memphis, again, when you talk about straight up in ATS, we've used this term many a time on this show. Don't step in front of the falling knife. And I know I've heard other people use that term. And it's kind of what we've got going on here with Memphis. So for that reason, I'm passing. I do respect the spot that the Spurs are in. They're at home facing the same team that beat them up over the weekend. You'd expect Coach Pop and the Spurs to be a lot better tonight. But I don't really love stepping in front of the Memphis right now with this great 6-game winning streak, both straight up and ATS that they're on. And they've done it against some pretty good competition at times as well. I lean under the total as well, but didn't get there with either side or total. Skee, what do you think here? Memphis, San Antonio.
Memphis, they've played one game in like almost the last 2 weeks. So I don't care what they did because it's nothing recent. They have been good on the road. I'll say that. They're 5-1 against the spread on the road. They won their first game after all the postponements. But I'm still not going to count all the games they played 2-3 weeks ago. I like to look at how teams are playing last 5 games or so, or like how they're doing recently. And that's not what I have for Memphis. And I think the Spurs, I like what I've seen from them. And after losing the last game, I expect to bounce back from them.
All right, like in San Antonio, minus 3.5. That's what's tricky about this 6-game run for Memphis. 5 of the 6 games were January 18th and previous to that. Only the one game they've had since their little hiatus, and that was on Saturday against this, albeit very impressive. I thought the spot to bet San Antonio would have been Saturday, facing this Memphis team that had been off for so long, rusty and not really sharp, but Memphis was strong, and they caught San Antonio on a poor day. So maybe that's a wake-up call here to the Spurs a little bit, but it's an interesting game for sure. Skee making the case here for San Antonio. Conor, what do you think here, Grizzlies and Spurs?
Yeah, it's interesting. The Grizzlies played really good the other day. I like how the Spurs have been playing before that. I look towards the other side. I think this game can get over the total at 221. With the Spurs, it's all about their shooting. They shoot a ton of threes, and they're hot and cold there. The only thing is the last game had a ton of points, so I'm a little leery there. And I think the Spurs come back and win this one. I lay with the Spurs at 3.5.
All right, like in San Antonio as well, minus 3.5. On we go now. 2 games left. Phoenix taking on Dallas. We've got the Mavericks 2.5-point home favorites here. 217.5 to 218 is the total in this one. Grizzlies and Mavericks and the Suns looking to keep their back-to-back going. The Suns getting the better of Dallas on Saturday with a 111-105 win. It was a great game. Chris Paul's been so good at the end of these close games. When you get Phoenix in a close game, boy, Chris Paul's been stepping up, playing really well in those situations this year for the Suns. DeAndre Ayton had a big game the other night against the Mavericks. So we'll see if he can carry it over. The good news is for the Mavericks is it looks like they might be getting some artillery and some hands on deck back here for this game. We've talked about how they've been without a lot of key guys, and it looks like for the first time in a while, I'm not seeing a little IR or any little injury asterisk next to anybody's name on this Dallas Mavericks team. Everybody's accounted for. Luka, Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber's back, and Kristaps Porzingis, Willie Cauley-Stein's back as well, and Kristaps Porzingis, who we always have to ask ourselves prior to every Dallas game, is he going to be in each night? He is also good to go for the game tonight. So finally, full-strength Dallas Mavericks team, and I think the betting markets are responding to that a little bit with Dallas bet up from 1.5 to 2.5-point home favorites here in this game, looking to avenge the loss to the Suns on Saturday. I kind of lean that way. I mean, this is another team I'm a little reluctant to bet against Phoenix, but I understand the spot here for Dallas. They're at full strength. You'd expect a better performance from them. They've been disappointing so far this season, but now is the time when we can really truly see if Dallas is going to live up to that billing of being a force in the West. I thought they could be. They haven't shown me any indication that maybe they could be so far, but now they're finally going to have their entire team, on deck and all hands on deck, their entire team available tonight and moving forward. So now's the time we're going to find out what this Dallas team is truly all about. I lean to them in this spot, but I'm going to stay off it. Skee, what do you think? Phoenix, Dallas.
This is the opposite of catch the falling knife. I don't know how you even call it, but I'm not putting my money on Dallas. I'm sorry. Until they start playing some kind of defense, until they start rebounding the ball. I don't like anything that I've seen from Dallas. The offense hasn't been good. I know the guys are healthy, but it's just nothing I've seen to make me want to go that way. And the Suns, Booker or not, I think the Suns have been playing a lot better than Dallas has. So that's the way I'll look if they're catching points. Not one I feel extremely strong about, but I know one thing. I'm not putting my money on the Mavericks till they show me some life.
It's kind of the way I feel. I mean, now that they're fully
Yeah.
healthy, I think this team could take off. And if I see a great win tonight, let's say they go out there and look really good, 48 minutes, crisp, better defense, better offense. Because remember, their offense was historically good last year, and it's declined as well this year. Their offensive game, that's gone down. But it's their defense that's been non-existent lately. But tonight's a sit back and watch game for me. If I see Dallas look really good, really take control and beat and handle a pretty good Phoenix team here with everybody healthy now. Maybe it'll be a buy sign moving forward for Dallas, but I'm kind of in the same camp as Skee here. I need to see it with my own two eyes first that Dallas is able to improve and show, better at both ends of the floor now with everybody on deck. What's your thoughts here, Conor, with the Suns taking on the Mavs?
I was on the Suns the other night, and they look good. Dallas just looks so bad. I'm with you guys. I can't lay points with them right now. I think they should get this, after losing to him. Luka had the big, speech in the locker room, kind of tore the guys apart. I think Dallas gets back, but I just can't lay my money tonight on them. Not laying points, not laying almost, 2.5, 3. So I got to pass on this one. And nothing on the total. Dallas games haven't been going over. The one went over by a point. I think the number's spot on here. Right around 217. So pass.
Yeah, you know what? I'd like to think that maybe I'd like to think that maybe this game could stay under because I lean in that direction just a little bit in this one. It was 216 total points in the game on Saturday, and the total was 215. And now you're seeing this total around 218. So it's been an adjustment upward. Dallas is talking again, kind of like Milwaukee going into tonight. We got a bit better on the defensive end of the floor. So if we see that, maybe the game can stay under. But again, just like why I'm not betting Dallas is why I'm not betting under. I got to see it on the floor from the Mavericks to be better at that end of the court. Next up, and final game on the Monday slate, Detroit Pistons, Denver Nuggets. Denver, 8-point home favorites, 217.5 the total. This was one of the regrets of the weekend for me because I was staring at Golden State laying a short number against Detroit on Saturday, and it was, I think, a pretty good spot for Golden State, and I passed on it. I don't know. And Golden State ended up just running away with it against the Pistons, blew them out in that game, and now the Pistons will be looking to rebound here against Denver. This is a tricky one. I don't know if I have a whole lot of trust right now in the Pistons going into this game, but obviously for Denver, you're talking about the mother of all potential letdown spots. You just ended the incredible winning streak of the Utah Jazz in dominant blowout fashion. Is it possible for Nikola Jokic, the Joker, to play any better than he did yesterday? I mean, obviously it's clear the Utah Jazz still haven't learned how to defend or guard the guy. Going back to the playoff series last year, he just absolutely chewed up and spit out Utah's interior defense. He's pulling out and shooting threes. He was just carving them everywhere on the floor yesterday. But again, a huge performance from him, a great win for Denver. It was also surprising to see them play that well against Utah, considering that they were just coming back home from a pretty lengthy road trip as well, the Nuggets. And, to see them dominate Utah, it's impressive. But now the games have added up. Now you've had that big win, and now you're still home, and you worry about flat spot, letdown. It's got the makings of letdown, flat spot written all over it. So I understand the money to Detroit. There has been some Pistons money. It's down from Detroit plus 9.5 down to plus 8 with the Pistons in most spots. I get it. It's not a good Denver spot. It's not a spot I'm laying 8 with Denver in, but don't have a whole lot of confidence right now in Detroit. So it's a tough game for me. Not one I'm involved with as of right now. Skee, what are your thoughts here with the nightcap, Detroit and Denver?
I probably would like him more if Gary Harris was in because he's a pretty good defender. But both teams playing at a slower pace. I don't necessarily trust Detroit's offense that much. And Denver's been playing better defense lately. And I trust Detroit's defense more than their offense. So for those reasons, mostly, I think it's an under game. And that's the way I look. And as far as a prop, I might look towards Jeremy Grant. I mean, everybody knows it's not really a secret anymore, but his points have been going over and he's playing his old team. So that's probably a way I would look today.
All right, there we go. A lean to the under and then some prop recommendations as well from Skee on that one. Nuggets hosting the Pistons. Conor, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, Ian, you said it, flat spot. So I'm going to grab the points with the Pistons. Usually I don't do it on the road. I like them grabbing points at home, but I'm going to take these 8. I got it 8.5, but I still like it at 8. I think it's the ultimate kind of letdown. I think Denver goes through the motions, second half to back-to-back. The huge win yesterday. So, yeah, I like the Pistons here. I think they can keep it at least close and cover here.
This is a game where I definitely like Jeremy Grant from a prop standpoint for Detroit. First game playing his old team. He went to Detroit, got the money, got the the promise that he's going to be one of the top options for the Pistons. So, and when he was with Denver, you're behind just a bunch of guys. Jokic and Murray and Michael Porter Jr. is ripping it up for the Nuggets, and he got lost in the shuffle. Part of the reason he signs with, albeit a bad team like Detroit, is he's going to play more. He's going to get more responsibility, more opportunity to make something of himself there in Detroit than he would have with Denver. So that's why he went there, and I think he's going to want to put a good showing on the floor tonight against his former team. So Jeremy Grant prop for the Pistons tonight, definitely something to look at, especially points. And we've talked about that before, particularly earlier in the season. Jeremy Grant was flying over his points props, seemed like every single night. So keep an eye on him tonight. He might be looking to have a big game, big night against the Denver Nuggets, his former team. All right, that's the Monday NBA card. Before we get to best bets to wrap up this edition of the NBA Closing Time Show, let's get a word from our prophets, courtesy of CMAC.
Everyone needs another book. Go to mybookie.ag, hit promo code PubSports. You get 50% off your debit or credit. You get 100% off Bitcoin. Use the Bitcoin. Put in over $100. You can put in $100. You get $100. Also, go to bulksupplements.com at promo code PubSports. Get 5 to 10% off your order. And also go to BuiltBar.com at promo code PubSports. They got good snacks. They got coconut double chocolate and mint brownie. Get it. BuiltBar.com, promo code PubSports.
All right, there we go. And a reminder before we get to best bets again Thursday, make sure you're joining us at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, Thursday, Super Bowl preview show, us three plus Donnie right side, breaking it all down, especially focusing in on prop. It's going to be a great show, lots of good betting information, and hopefully winning recommendations from the four of us. So we're looking forward to it. The three of us, I should say, plus Donnie. So looking forward to that on Thursday. We'll go to best bets now. I'll start today because I've already made up my mind. Usually I'm hemming and hawing. I'm wondering, and I'm going to be the glutton for punishment. And I know the last time we did this show, I used this same team for best bet, and they got whipped by the Knicks. They're doing the whipping tonight. Cleveland -4.5 against Minnesota. Cleveland rocks tonight. They're back home. I forget about the last two games. Yeah, they were bad in the second half against the Knicks and against the Timberwolves yesterday. Both of those were on the road. They're back in the friendly confines of their home floor. Home cooking has been awesome for the Cavaliers. Bickerstaff kind of tore a strip off his team after the loss last night. I expect them to respond. Cleveland -4.5, minus the spot against Minnesota. Payback time tonight, and that'll be my best bet for this Monday show. Skee, what do you like here for a best bet tonight?
I don't often have, or at least right now, while we have all these games, it's not the playoffs. When it's playoffs, I look a little bit more towards player props, but I have player prop today, so I'll just rock with that one as my best bet. I'll go with Damian Lillard under 32.5 points. Like I said, I love the matchup whenever he goes up against Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is an excellent defender. He struggled with him when he was in New Orleans. And I look for Lillard. I think it's a look-ahead spot for Lillard, especially to go up against Westbrook. And just because, like I said, people are comparing the backcourts of the Wizards to the backcourt of the Blazers. So I know he takes it personally, and I don't like his matchup tonight. So under 32.5 points for Damian Lillard.
Damian Lillard, there we go, under 32.5 points. Skee Profits best bet. A rare player prop best bet. Looking for him to get tied up and bottled up and neutralized, and put the old clamps down, the old stopper that is Drew Holiday on Damian Lillard tonight in that matchup between the Blazers and the Bucks. Conor, where are we going for best bet?
Well, it's gonna roll. I like it, but not my best bet with the Hawks. But I'm gonna go with OKC and the Rockets under 223.5. I think it's just too many points at 223.5. I think it's more, in the 215 range. So I'm on the under here. I think this one could stay under 223.5.
I agree with that one. Good under. Not a lot of unders for me tonight. Usually in general, there's not a lot of unders, but I like that one. OKC under 223.5. Best bet for Conor Mack. That'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Great turn. Over 120 live views. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. We're glad you're watching us. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're on 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific with the NBA closing time show right here on Pub Sports Radio. For Skee Profit and Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a good Monday night. Cash some tickets. Enjoy the NBA action. Enjoy the games, and good luck. We'll be back with you on Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, for another edition of the NBA Closing Time Show right here on Pub Sports Radio. See you guys.